Welcome, this is Pete. In this video, I'm going to share with you the best way to buy gold. Listen, I'm going to share with you the best time when you should buy gold and understanding what's going on in our economy, why some investors are stacking up, why the central banks are buying more gold than ever before. Gold and silver, right? There's wrong times to buy it and there's the right times to buy it. So I'm going to help you identify what I personally look for, why I've been, stacking silver and gold myself for quite a few years now. And with that said, let's go ahead and dive into this training. I think this can be some of the most important information you need to know in 2024. Let's dive into it. So let's talk about the obvious, the price increases, right? Since 2000, in just the last, 20 years, we've seen food and drinks, eating out, going up over 88%. Heat and bill are up 30%. Groceries are up between 300 and 400%. College tuition is rising. Your basic bills, car insurance, medical care over 100%. So why do these costs keep rising like crazy, right? Well, this is what's important to understand before we get into the gold and silver, right? Is that the dollar is losing its buying power. Why is that happening? It's because the governments and the banks are printing more and more. They're printing it at rates that have never been printed before. And up to 1971, our dollars, like our US dollars or any kind of country currency you use, have been backed by gold, okay? Since they removed it from the gold standard, now they can print as much as they want without accounting for how much gold they have, right? And that's why they keep printing it like crazy, and this is creating what's called inflation, right? Inflation is a simple concept to understand once you really get it. All it is when you have more currency printed than actual real sound money to back it, that creates inflation. What's sound money? Sound money is gold and silver. Okay, this is what dollars used to be backed by, but no longer. So now they can print more currency. However, it loses its buying power. It means it takes more of those same dollars to buy the same amount of gold or any kind of goods. So the amount of sound money, gold and silver, does not increase that fast, okay? But the amount of currency that increases, that's what creates the inflation. That's why the prices are going up, because it requires more buying power of those dollars to pretty much buy anything of value, okay? So more currency does not equal more value, right? So here's how it works. Check it out. Just 50 years ago, okay, about 50 years ago, you could buy 1 ounce of gold for just $100. So you could take a $100 bill and buy 1 ounce of pure gold, okay? Fast forward today, that 1 ounce of gold has not changed. However, what did change is it now requires 20 $100 bills or $2,000 to buy the same 1 ounce of gold. Why? Well, it's because that's how much more currency they have created. Gold is accounting for that, okay? Gold is the real measure of value, okay? It's the real money that always has been money since the kings and the queens of the past, and the wealthy up till today measure everything against gold. Now check it out. Let me show you a very, very important concept that I learned that changed everything for me, okay? We're used to measuring everything in price, right? The poor people, okay, and I was one of those poor people, we are used to measuring everything by price. Like if somebody says, this costs so much, we're like, okay, that's what it costs. But let's look back to 2008. This is one of the biggest financial crises up till date that has occurred in our time, right? And in 2008, you could take, $10 bill and buy 1 ounce of silver. Okay, so 1 ounce of silver at that point was $9.50. Now on the other side, you have an average medium house here in the USA, which cost about $200,000 at that time. Okay, now check it out. In 2008, before deflation, if you take out the dollar, okay, and just measure silver against that house, you get a different kind of understanding of value against value. Tangible asset against tangible asset. So that $9.50 per 1 ounce, it would require 21,000 ounces to buy that $200,000 house. The simple concept is this, my friend. When you measure value against value, then it takes 21,000 ounces of silver to buy a house in USA back in 2008, before the deflation. Now, just 3 years later, check it out, in 2011, after the deflation has occurred and the market started to recover, silver was $46 an ounce, and that same house dropped on average about 35%. So it was 130. In some parts of US, some houses went down as far as 50, 60%. while in other parts it went down, 20, 30%. But on the average scale, the median house dropped about 35%. You can look this up on Google, okay? Public data. Here's what happened, my friend. The scales have tipped since 2008 to 2011 during this deflation process, because when you're looking at the price, you're like, okay, the house dropped a little, no big deal, right? But here's what really happened. By 2011, it only takes 2,825 ounces of silver to buy that same house, because silver was up to $46 an ounce and the house was down to $130. So let's look at it this way. Check it out. In 2008, before deflation, the top portion, it took 21,000 ounces. Just 3 years later, after the deflation, right after that crisis, the house only dropped 30%. However, it only took 2,800 ounces to buy that same house. Okay? Almost 10 times cheaper. Let's say you sold that house before the deflation and you bought silver. Well, listen, for that same value, for 21,000 ounces, you could have bought, I don't know, between 8 and 10 houses just 3 years later. This is crazy, right? They don't teach you this in school, do they? So check it out, my friend. This is just last year, right? We are before deflation. This means that, yeah, we had a little, they say, recession during COVID, lockdown, pandemic, but that really was nothing. That actually hasn't affected the markets too much. Yes, supply chains are struggling. Yeah, there's been a lot of setbacks. However, the ripple effect is taking place, but the actual next financial crisis has not occurred yet, okay? So the next deflation, some people are saying it's going to be worse because of all the stored energy, right, of buildup, all the money printing they're doing, right? However, before deflation in 2023, even in the beginning of 2024, the deflation hasn't really occurred yet. But last year, 1 ounce of silver was $20, okay? The average house, now $400,000. Really, it's like $412,000, based on Google stats. So if we're comparing it against silver, at $20, it takes 20,000 ounces of silver to buy that $400,000 house. Now check it out. Let's compare it back to 2008, before the last financial crisis. At about $10 an ounce and $200,000 house, right? It took 21,000 ounces of silver to buy that house. What did that tell you back then? Well, if we knew what we know now, it told us that silver was underpriced and housing market was overpriced. If I knew then what I know now, I would sell that house and buy silver. In 2008, when it took that much silver to buy one house, we were in the midst of a big financial crisis right before. Now it takes as much silver pretty much to buy that same house. This should kind of tell you that the scales are about to tip again. If we look back at history, it's just common sense. Right now in 2024, just at the beginning of the year, the scales are starting to tip. Now that median house is down to already 390. Some places real estate didn't drop yet. Some places it's starting to pull back. The median house is 390, while silver is already at 22. So it's taking already just 17,000 ounces to buy that same house. So the scales are starting to tip. So I hope you're starting to understand that we're most likely going into another financial crisis. And I tell you what, it's overdue, just because how much money they printed and they've been kicking the can long enough, right? So I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'll tell you what we did. Personally, my wife and I, we had a condo on the beach. We sold it and we bought silver with the equity because we see what's coming next based on history, okay? So we're in the midst of what, some people are saying the almost everything bubble. This means that almost all assets are in bubbles, which means they're overpriced. Stock market's been hyped up for a while. Hey, I'm not saying stocks is a bad investment. I'm just saying that it has its cycles, right? That's why I'm selling my stocks. That's why I've sold my real estate for the most part, right? And that's why I don't participate in bonds. These three bubbles have never aligned before in history like they have today. They're all in bubbles, which means bubbles burst and the transference of all that money goes somewhere else. Guess where it's going? Well, one clue is that banks have never bought as much gold as they are buying now. Here's some articles to prove that, right? Why do banks need gold, right? They deal in currency. Well, because they know what's coming. The biggest transference of wealth, my friends, is about to take place, whether you believe it or not, right? You can do your own research. I believe that real estate, bonds, stocks, EFTs, all these derivatives, right? The transference from there of wealth will go into silver, gold, and I think crypto. I say maybe crypto because, to be honest, Bitcoin was born in 2009 and crypto has not seen a financial crisis yet. So it's hard to say how it will react. Okay? We don't know what crypto will do, honestly. Nobody does, because it hasn't really faced a financial crisis, right? It faced bears and bull runs, right? That's all little stuff. The actual financial crisis like we had in 2008 and the next one that hasn't occurred yet is about to take place. We don't know what crypto will do. However, I still think it's a good potential. So I do hold some crypto, right? But we do have enough history to understand what gold and silver does. And gold has always been the true store of value, and it has appreciated during bad economic times, okay? So that's why, a lot of analysts are saying the biggest transfers of wealth is about to take place, and it's going into the undervalued assets. And that has been gold and silver during bad economic turmoil, okay? You can do whatever you want with this information. If you want to hold real estate and bonds and stocks at this time, that's fine, right? I just want to share with you, history repeats itself, right? There's nothing really new under the sun. I'm just telling you what I'm doing to position myself, and I'm positioning in gold and silver mostly, and some crypto, because the scales are tipping. That's why during this time, the banks, some of the biggest institutions, some of the wealthiest people are stacking up on gold and silver for the most part. There will be a bad time to hold gold and silver, I think, right? When gold and silver is up, just like it was in 2011, right? And everything else was down. So listen, for thousands of years, precious metals have been a true store of value that protect against bad economic conditions, which means it's time tested. It has a history. You can pretty much know what it's going to do when everything else goes down. Make sense? I do buy silver and gold, right? And I don't want to leave you without a solution. So some of the questions people often have is, where can I buy it? Who do I trust? How do I know I'm getting the best price? How do I know when I'm getting enough? And where can I store and protect, my assets? I'm going to share with you what I use, okay? I use a precious metals dealer that allows us to get our precious metals at the lowest price in the market and have some of the highest security to store our precious metals in private vaults, or we can ship it to our home if we want it, okay? Or anywhere you want. And they are worldwide. So my number one link below will show you exactly how you can get your silver and gold at the best price. With that said, listen, this is just some information that I want to share with you. I believe the biggest transference of wealth is about to take place. I want to share this with as many people as I can. So feel free to share this video with others. This is just going off of history, what's coming, how we're positioning ourselves. I think everybody needs to hear this before it's too late. Hey, listen, if you appreciate this, please hit that thumbs up. But also my number one link will actually get you into my private community, and I'll share with you exactly how we're leveraging gold and silver to actually not just collect silver and gold for the lowest price you'll ever find in the market, but also how we earn income passively powered by gold and silver. So you can definitely click that link, check that out. And with that said, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. So don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned for more. Also, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on what we've covered today. Let me know this was helpful and educational. I wish I knew this stuff way before. I'd be a lot more wealthier today. But now that I do, I'd love to pass it on and just help people position themselves, or at least get financially educated on one of the most valuable assets in the world right now, silver and gold, and why you may want to consider understanding why you might want to get some before it's too late. This is not financial advice, right? I'm just sharing with you some, facts and information that, I believe people should know and get educated on. I wish you phenomenal success, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.